Good morning, class. Welcome to our distant learning course. Today's we talk about selecting a sample or sampling strategies for quantitative research and qualitative research. Welcome, everyone. First of all, we begin with some differences between sampling in quantitative research and qualitative research. You can refer to pages 228, 229 in our course book by Ranjit Kumar, 4th edition 2011. First of all, let's start with some considerations or some fundamentals related to sampling in quantitative research. The first fundamental of quantitative research sampling is about unbiased selection of a sample. This is a key consideration for any quantitative researcher. At the end, the researcher wants to select a sample that in a way that is unbiased. Being unbiased means everyone have an independent chance of being selected or have an equal chance of being selected. In other words, personal judgment or intentional or unintentional decision on the part of researcher is not allowed in sampling in quantitative research. Secondly, a quantitative researcher wants to select a sample that represents the bigger population or the sampling population or the target population. This is so important a concept for quantitative researchers because at the end of the day, they want to draw inferences or generalize the results or the findings from a small sample to the bigger group, to the population. How can they be so confident in making such inferences or generalizing the results from a small sample, from a small subgroup to the bigger group? Because they work very hard in order to select a sample that is representative of the bigger group. For example, the population is 2,000 students at a particular institute. The researcher decides to select 200 because she has, time and resources to survey only 200 students. She will collect the data from the 200 students, but in her final reporting, she is going to generalize the results that come from the 200 students to the entire population. In this instance, the entire population is 2,000 students. This is the second consideration in sampling in quantitative research. The third consideration, as stated previously, one key purpose of a quantitative research study is the ability to draw inferences about the population or the bigger group based on the sample. In her report, a quantitative researcher might say something like this: the vast majority of students in the Institute A are satisfied with the facilities provided by the institute. So you can see at the end, she reports that a vast majority of the students in A institute. So when she talks about the vast majority of students in A institute, she is talking about, everyone in the institute. She does not say a vast majority of the students who took part in my survey were satisfied with the facilities provided by the institute. So that is a key purpose, a key intention for quantitative researcher ability, their ability to draw conclusion or draw inferences or generalize the results. Another key consideration is to do with the predetermined sample size. A quantitative researcher have already decided in advance how many respondents she is going to contact, she is going to collect the data from. In our example, based on her budget, her time, and other resources, she decides to survey 200 students out of a 2,000 strong student population. So a quantitative researcher made up their mind already before data collection the exact number of respondents she is going to collect the data from. Also, the sample size is a hugely important consideration for quantitative researcher. Since the researcher wants to generalize the results from a smaller group to the bigger group or the population, she wants to survey as many as people as possible because a bigger sample size can be better represent the population. In particular, if the characteristics such as income or attitude or age of the respondents are so diverse, a smaller sample size can be risky, can lead to inaccurate research results. So a bigger sample size is a better option. However, as stated earlier, the availability of resources such as time and financial resources are also other important factors when it comes to how many respondents are exactly going to be recruited and participate in the survey, for example. The last consideration for quantitative researcher when it comes to the issues of sampling is the concept of randomization. Randomization only applies in quantitative research sampling. It does not apply in qualitative research sampling. How does it work? It simply means 200 students out of 2,000 students are going to be randomized. They are going to be randomly selected. The researcher have no control on who will be selected. It is up to the random sampling procedures that determine who gonna be selected. So these are fundamentals in quantitative sampling. In opposite, qualitative researcher, practice their qualitative sampling based on others' consideration, very different considerations from quantitative researcher. For example, they select the participants because of the ease of accessibility to the potential participants. The participants are very easy to access, and that could be a key driver, a key consideration for selecting a particular participants because of ease of access, because of accessibility. This concept does not apply in a quantitative research sampling. It is not acceptable. It is biased. It's not representative. But it's okay for qualitative researcher to make the decision to select someone based on ease of accessibility. Another difference between sampling in quantitative research and qualitative research is the researcher judgment that the participants have extensive knowledge about a particular research topic. The researcher take time, possibly talk to other networks, to other colleagues, in order to make up his mind or her mind about who possesses rich knowledge, extensive knowledge related to a particular issues under investigation. Again, this kind of consideration is not acceptable in sampling in quantitative research. It's not representative, it's unbiased. Another consideration for qualitative research sampling is that a case that is similar to the rest of the group is going to be selected. A case in this instance, in this context, refer to a participant or a student or a teacher or a voter who is similar to other voter, other teachers, or other student is going to be contacted and interviewed. For example, there are 25 teachers in high school A, and 2 teachers are contacted for the interview simply because they are typical or they are similar to the 18 other teachers. So they are selected based on their similarity to the bigger group. Or if the 2 teachers are so different from the other 18 teachers, they will be contacted, they will be selected for the interview because the researcher wants to learn about their characteristics, their opinions, their feedback, their practices. In other words, because they are different. And it can be interesting to learn about, this odd one out, their idiosyncrasies. This can be interesting. This can be a good opportunity to talk to people who are so atypical, who are so different from the rest of the crowd. Again, such concepts do not apply in sampling in quantitative research. Another key difference in sampling in both research approaches is this. A key purpose for a qualitative researcher is to gain in-depth knowledge about a particular topic. So in order to gain in-depth knowledge about a particular topic, a qualitative researcher have to go to the right people, to the people who possess the information about that particular topic. As we stated earlier, quantitative researchers have already decided on a particular sample size. For example, 200 students gonna be contacted, gonna fill in the questionnaire, invited to fill in the questionnaire. However, qualitative researchers do not have a predetermined sample size. She cannot tell us that she is going to observe or interview or talk to 20 people, 10 people, or 5 people. She can only stop collecting the data once she reaches a point of data saturation. In other words, she is going to stop collecting data or stop talking to the participants if she learns nothing new. In other words, new information is negligible, is minimal, is so small that she decides to stop talking to more people. Simply, she makes up her mind that data have already saturated. Even if she tries to talk to more people, she will not learn about anything new about her research question or research topic. So her final sample size or her final number of participants recruited in her study is going to be revealed when she collects no new information or when data have saturated. This is a big contrast between qualitative research sampling and quantitative research sampling. As stated earlier, in a quantitative research, a bigger sample size is generally better. Why? Because a bigger sample size better represent the bigger population, the entire population. However, qualitative researchers are not going to talk to hundreds of people. A small sample size would be fine, would be okay. Sometimes only one case or one participant is enough to satisfy her research objective, or talking to a few cases is enough to satisfy her research objective, because her goal is to identify the spread of diversity and not its magnitude. What do we mean by spread of diversity? It simply means the researcher talked to a few people in order to learn about diverse opinions of them. She wants to learn about the spread of opinion, the diversity of opinions. She does not try to find out the proportion or the percentage of respondents who, strongly agree or strongly disagree on certain dimension or certain issues in her research. Her interest is to learn about different opinions shared by the participants. And finally, this point might overlap with the previous one, but it's important to revisit even if it seems to overlap. The researcher tried to purposely select information-rich participants who will provide the information she needs. The qualitative researcher, will access, will reach out to a teacher, for example, who have been very successful in adopting blended learning for her classes. So that teacher is information rich. That teacher is the best qualified uh, in addressing the research question. So that's it, everyone. That's it about chapter 12, selecting a sample, part 1, on the distinctions or the differences between sampling in quantitative research and qualitative research. I encourage you to go to pages 228, 229 in order to peruse the text. And if there is a need to listen to this video again, or you want to replay it, feel free to do so. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you very much.